Greetings on this cheerful, almost Christmas day. It is sunny and warm here in Tamarindo. Our heat wave has struck as of yesterday, and we're in dry season at last. Thank you, Jesus. We're in dry season. No more hours and hours and hours and hours upon raining. So I'm excited. If you don't know who I am, I'm Suzanne Titkemeyer. I used to write a column called No Longer Quivering for Pathos that dealt with the quiverful, evangelical, charismatic, non-denominational movement. And some of the things that happened there, if you could do the YouTube things, I would appreciate it. These are just my opinions. Don't bully anybody. Don't even be rude in the comments. We're better than that. I wanted to talk just a hair today about self-care during the holidays. Why? Well, because the holiday season, even if you don't have crazy relatives, the holiday seasons can be some of the most stressful times that you can experience. At least has been my experience. My cover photo is of my living room back when I used to live in Virginia, and I had an antique piano there and an antique this and that, and had everything decorated just so. Here, I'm still putting up the tree, and I don't have very many ornaments, so things have changed a lot for me, but that doesn't mean it's stressless. I have a different type of holiday stress now instead of the stress of trying to make everything perfect, which I let go of during the Toronto Airport Christian Fellowship years. I really just let that expectation go. And after that, my Christmases have been kind of up and down. I had only just started to regain my love of Christmas when we moved here. So, why am I talking about stress today in the lead up to Christmas? I'm getting ready to explain it. Okay. So, we're coming up on Christmas week, Holy Week here, Semana Santa. And it is a cluster, you know what, a cluster FUCK when that happens here. There are 2 weeks of the year that I hate being here, that I usually try to fly off somewhere else, like back home to spend with my kids. But this year, the airlines raised the rates of the tickets so expensive that I can't in good conscience buy a ticket, because I am not a fan of blowing large amounts of money on necessary stuff. And that normal $300, $350, $400 plane ticket, and I paid as much as $6. It's about where my limit is. We're like $1,200 to $1,800 each. So we're gonna stay here and gut it out. Oh, hey Mima. So what does that look like? Well, yesterday, I'm starting to get the sense that it's happening here. This morning was extreme confirmation. Last night, my husband was trying to get me to go see his favorite band, Fantanista, at El Vaquero. And I said, no, you go with Davy Jones. You take your friend who hates my guts, not me, because I just had a feeling we're starting to see the mad Christmas rush here. And sure enough, we are. One of the problems of living in Tamarindo is everybody from San Jose decamps for Tamarindo, and every wealthy gringo and their brother fly in for this week. So from about the 18th on until like the 2nd of January, this place just turns into that shit show like you would not believe. This morning, for the first time all dry season, which granted isn't long, this is the first time we've ever had dry season. I mean, rainy season lasts into December that I can remember. So, long story short, this morning, planes, and I live by the airport, planes coming in 6 a.m., 7 a.m., 9 a.m., 10 a.m., and I suspect come 11 that I'll see some planes coming in, going out, but mostly coming in. You can set your watch by the time they come through here. Usually Gringo. Yeah, just taught grandson that word. You never heard it before? Okay. It's an insult, but I've embraced it. And a lot of us here do because we're gringos. This is not our culture. And I'm not going to fault the Costa Ricans for trying to make money. This is one of the seasons where they'll make money. And sometimes you just grin and pay it. Like we had one of our televisions fixed, not the new one, but the other one. And the guy charges gringo prices. I told my husband, I said, just pay the bill. Because it's near Christmas and gringo pricing is what you pay around Christmas. Everyone floods into Tamarindo from San Jose and north of the borders. And it makes what is normally a sleepy beach town the most unbearable place on earth. Just going to say it. You can't shop in the grocery stores because they're full of gringos standing there looking at everything. Oh, they got Oreos here. Yeah. He knew all the other insulting words, had to expand his vocabulary. Hey, Terry. 'Tis the season of Xmas traveling. Yeah, you're right. Exactly. Lots of Xmas traveling. And I don't mind tourists coming here. I mind tourists coming here and not respecting the culture. For me, that is a problem. Whenever I see them standing around the grocery store and locals, both Tico and Gringo, are just trying to get their grocery on, that's it. I curse them inwardly. The other day at Walmart, it was the worst one I've ever seen Thursday, and it was all gringos making Walmart miserable. It reminded me of Walmart in the States because Walmart in the States is that way. So it's been horrible here, and I can feel myself getting like this. Amish call us English. I know that, and that's kind of funny because some of us aren't the English. So I've done a lot of thinking this week. I had an epiphany the other day that kind of plays in with all of this that I want to talk about just a little bit. When I was in Walmart, well, in the lead up to getting to Walmart, I was getting really angry with my husband over any number of things. Looking back, stupid things. And this has been a pattern at various times in our marriage, particularly when I'm under stress. And I started thinking about the why right in the middle of one of those situations because he lives his life like one of my friends described him as a cisgendered upper class white male who thinks that everything he does is perfect and everybody should cater to him. He does have some elements of that. I'm not going to deny that. And I have elements of that every now and then too, but I try to be conscious of it and not do it. So here we are in Walmart. He has bought a sleeve of Pringles potato chips. Why, I don't know. To me, they taste like pure salt mixed with potato flakes. They're not my favorite. When I eat French fries, I'm not chips. I want them to taste like good, really fried potatoes, like Zapp's potato chips out of Lafayette, Louisiana. I want them to actually taste like potatoes. So he pops the top. We're checking out at Walmart. I've already cranky mood because I'm in I always call it the grip line, the handicap line. I'm in the handicap line where it's for pregnant women, people with disabilities, and the elderly. I go through that line specifically because I know that I may end up taking extra time because I have mobility issues. So there were people in front of me that also had mobility issues. There was a young man who had some kind of palsy disorder, and there was a lady that was struggling to walk and handle a credit card at the same time. So I'll get in that line for a reason because I don't want to inconvenience anybody else ever. My mother raised me to think of other people always when you're out and about. You let people cut in front of you in the driving line, all these different things. You just try to be as nice and understanding and try not to discombobulate anybody. You try to always think of the other person. And mostly that works for me. Now, that day in line at Walmart, it did not necessarily 100% work for me because was behind two people who were extremely slow, and I was fine with that because I knew that was going to happen. And suddenly I hear, excuse me, coming through, blah, 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 behind me. And there's a long line of us because we all go through that checkout who need extra time. And there was a lady, a young lady, not a pregnant young lady, not a disabled young lady, just a young lady with a sheet cake. And she jumped in front of everybody in the line. Then she got to me, and my stuff was already on the counter, and said, coming through, I need to get in front of you. And I said, no. I said no like 3 or 4 times, which is very unusual for me. So my husband's of the end popping the top, right? They rung up his Pringles. And I got this obnoxious gringo that wants to cut in front of me in the handicap line, and there's nothing wrong with her. And she has no mobility issues at all that I can see. So I was just like, no, girl. That's rare for me. But my husband's popping his Pringles. He left the wrapper right there on the countertop at the back. And I told him beforehand, I said, I need you to load our bags in our cart because I am going to be price watching the scanner and dealing with the payment stuff. And I don't want to hold up the line while you're consuming Pringles. So he's doing that very lackadaisically, and he broke my celery. And there are celery leaves now and his paper from the Pringles can at the very end of the register. And I'm just losing it. Hey, autistic Jill, I'm kind of like, how can you be so selfish? And bummed a paper towel off the cashier, and I cleaned the back of the counter and picked up all that crap while I'm running my mouth at him. So I started thinking about it between there and the car, and I was like, I was raised to always think of the other people. I was raised that when I'm in public, I don't act like everything is my personal thing. Everything. I don't act with white entitlement. I don't act with any of that. I say please, I say thank you, I smile, I make eye contact, I let people in and all that stuff. Hey, green worm. And I got to the car and told my husband, I said, I'm sorry I've been snapping at you, but I've realized something. I've realized that the way I was raised to always live in fear of why. And I apply it to everything in life. I applied it. We were driving up, and some stupid white guy in a boat-long SUV parked his car in the space that is for people only with electric cars. And this was a big old gas guzzling Toyota Prada or something. And I was losing it then. So this is a characteristic of mine that I have to work on. I am happy that I told the girl could not jump in front of me, because it's important to stand up for yourself when people are doing the wrong thing and you know they're doing the wrong thing and you're not willing to accommodate them. But that is a rarity for me, so I have to work on that. Now, what does that have to do with today? Everything. Because times like what I'm experiencing, going through the Walmart line with my husband and all that, is just extremely stressful. Between the holiday tourist influx and that, it's just a very stressful time for me. And yesterday morning, I got up with a bladder infection that I was in incredible pain in the front, the back, everywhere. And I had to go to the doctor in the morning first thing, which is never a good thing. And thankfully, they gave me pain relief, but unthankfully, I'm like passing out all day yesterday to sleep. So that was an act of self-care during this time. In the past, I would have just thrown in cranberry pills and water and gone on, but not this time. I was like, hey, no, I need to deal with this now so I don't end up in the hospital later. So I did. I also took the self-care steps yesterday of hitting the bed and napping whenever I really needed to. And I started doing like this, instead of jumping up and insisting that, oh, I'm fine. I got to do this. I got to do that. I got to finish folding the clothes. I didn't do any of that. I just laid up in the bed. I petted Pork a whole lot. Porky will tell you when you have to pet her, which is frequently. And I didn't do a whole lot else. I want to tell you today that it is okay to put everything down and take a self-care day. It really is. Um, Sometimes it's necessary. Sometimes you even have to take off work to take a self-care day. Oh, and for me, what does self-care look like? A lot of times it looks like yesterday. It looks like a day where I take a nap in the afternoon, which is rare for me. It looks like I changed out the candles throughout the house to the ones that I love, apple cinnamon for this time of the year. It looks like floating on a raft in the pool, which I'm going to do this morning as well. It looks like trying not to think about the tourist horde invading our town that is going to make the next week the craziest yet. And how crazy does it get here? 3, 4 years ago, they blocked the main road coming in and out of Tamarindo on New Year's Eve. And we had a guy die of a heart attack because he couldn't get an ambulance out. So that's how crazy it can get here. I'm not participating in any of that. I may or may not hang my jingle bells, and it's all good. I have lights up on the tree. It's already gorgeous. So, self-care sometimes looks like doing nothing. It may look like doing nothing to everybody else. Sometimes it looks like what mine is likely to be today. I lock myself in my sewing room and I work on a quilt. Sometimes it looks like that. Sometimes it looks like nothing. Sometimes it looks like whatever floats your boat. I have a friend that bakes when she's stressed because I've been the recipient of some of her baked goods, and they're absolutely wonderful. And that's the other thing I want to say. Don't let the commercialism of this season get to you. It's really, and the thing is, I hate to say Christmas even because I know so many people of the Jewish faith who are Muslim, who are, you name it, and agnostic, and people of color that celebrate Kwanzaa. And it's all wonderful. It's all beautiful. So sometimes it pays to ignore the noise, the shouting, the craziness, and just focus on what's really important to you right now. For me, the most important thing is we're trying to recover. Jim from his surgery, myself from another in a series of unfortunate confloptions with my body. And I'm not going to stress about any of that at all. The turkey is bought and in the freezer. We're ready. We got enough food, and that's got to be enough. What we don't have, we can do without. It's to that point with us. Oh, so this went a lot different than I thought it was. I was going to rant about self-care and doing all this stuff. But like I said, I think it can be very simple. One of the things that I've really missed, and one of the problems with moving here, is that I lost a lot of stuff. I mean, a ton. I gave a ton of stuff away. I was just in such a frenzy to reduce our possessions down to an essential amount that was in a room over a double car garage, to reduce it down that far so that if we decided to stay, all I had to do was have the shipping container packed and sent to us. They screwed that up. So I lost so many things. And I've been really in mourning over that. But you know something, at the same time, I'm going to say there's a benefit for having less possessions, at least for me. And I can't handle over decorated houses. It's funny because we've been looking on Zillow for buying a base in the States again, specifically so I can go back and forth to Johns Hopkins to see my doctors when I need to. And looking through Zillow has been an adventure in housing and houses. So that kind of adds a little more stress into the season as well. So I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just going to go on. One of the things that I'm thinking about doing this afternoon is watching some comical Christmas movies. I don't know about the rescue, but humor is one of the best ways that I can push the reset button when I'm feeling stressed. Back in the States, I had a pile of Mad magazines that were my son's that I had read that were just hysterical. I had all kinds of stuff like that. Here, not so much, but I could always look up the comical. This morning, I posted on Twitter one of the funnier doctors I know of who also is showing the real truth of rural medicine. Um, there are a lot of just hysterical comedy YouTubers out there that handle their subjects with some funniness. And it's been good because one thing, I have stopped giving a rat's patoot about a certain YouTuber altogether. Number one fan. One of my favorite ones is Christmas Vacation. It's not very politically correct in parts, but I laugh so hard when I see that one because Cousin Eddie, the whole 9 yards. And my husband and I watched it one year. We both got screwed out of bonuses, and we're like, let's watch this movie. And it it also pushes the idea that the important thing is being with those people you love in that time, along with the assorted oddball weirdos in the family. And God knows my family, my Louisiana family, my family of origin, we got a boatload of weirdos. We got weirdos coming out of our ears. So it's not something that we really fool with at all. It's anymore, but it's good to look back. So Christmas Vacation, yes, it is time to go into escape mode. Christmas is hard for me. Greenworm, yeah, that's another point I want to bring up. Christmas is hard for a lot of people. It's been kind of hard for me here because I don't have my extended family around me. I don't have my kids. I don't even have my Christmas ornaments from my house in Virginia. I have a few of them, but not many. So many things just disappeared into the void, like my Nuremberg angel up at the Nuremberg Christmas market many years ago. All of my German ornaments, one survived like 30 years old, but most of the stuff is just gone, which makes it really hard for me. But I'm trying to build new memories in place. I'm not going to church this Christmas. That is a new thing for me because even when I was in super church avoidance mode, I always went to church Christmas Eve and or Christmas Day. Not doing that this year. Last Sunday, I went to church with my husband to drive him. It was a huge mistake. It was an incredible shit show because the pastor is back to allowing people with little dogs in, and I was back to having my asthma. I went and sat in the picnic area, the farthest from the church that I could be to survive the chemical nonsense and the little dogs. After I had talked to the pastor multiple times, he said, "Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. No, you're watching that tonight. Love My Grands. That's a good one. That is one of my favorite ones. And I still like Christmas Story too, even though that one is also problematic because of their treatment of their depiction of the Chinese at the Chinese restaurant on Christmas Eve. My husband and I were talking about stereotypes earlier and the dangers of stereotypes because I think I will stop the movie before we get to that part is what we'll do. Stereotypes other people. They other them. Well, what do I mean by othering? Well, when you take a group and you reduce it down to a few characteristics and say, oh, yeah, that's just the Chinese, the Mexicans, the Cajuns, the Germans, you other them. And when you other people, you view them as less than human. You view them as lesser, and it becomes easier to abuse them. I mean, that's what Hitler did to the Jews. I hate to bring up Hitler. I'm violating Rule 34. Die Hard. Yes, it's a Christmas movie. It's a Christmas movie, too. We're also going to watch Nightmare Before Christmas because that's one of our favorites in our family. And it's comedic in the extreme. And we watch it on Halloween. We watch it on Christmas. It's a 2-holiday movie spree for us. It really is. And there's so many others that are good. I saw someone on Twitter earlier talking about They can't watch It's a Wonderful Life. They think it's a terrible movie. It just triggers them. Hey, don't watch anything that triggers you at all. Just do the polite, I have to go over there now, and turn away. Just do it. Don't watch these things if they stress you out. Oh man, yeah. So don't do anything that stresses you out. There is no rule that says you have to do A, B, or C. You can figure it out as you go along. Do whatever you're comfortable with. For me, that's not going to be much today or the next so many days up until Christmas. I may cook a little bit. We have to make Christmas Eve run to San Jose for my husband to see his doctor. But other than that, we're going to be golden. And I may tell my husband, hey, let's stay in a hotel for a few days and have a hotel Christmas. Let's do that. Because a hotel near the hospital and near the doctors is lovely. And they decorate for Christmas. Let somebody else handle Christmas this year. I'm getting too old to do everything because I'm rapidly learning. Hey, Grace Peter, I'm sorry. I just decided to jump on without giving much notice to rant about self-care. Number one fan, doesn't it? Doesn't it? I would love, and the hotel we've discovered that we like to stay at by the hospital, it's an American hotel. So I know and damn good and well I'm going to be able to get a good American style Christmas dinner if I stay there. So that's my rant about self-care. Oh, so figure out what it is that's stressing you out. Figure out ways to deal with it, the things that distress you, and go from there. And just know that if you don't celebrate Christmas, that's good too. But if you do celebrate Christmas, that's good. But don't make yourself nuts doing it. I used to make myself nuts back in Louisiana doing it, hosting it, helping out with the hosting because it was just, I'd be, oh, is so-and-so going to drink and fight with Miss Boudreaux? What's going to happen here? What's going to happen? What is going to happen with all these people when they get all this alcohol in them? I'm going to have to go look and see if Al-Anon has posted any tips for dealing with the holiday stress and dysfunctional relatives, and post that as well in my description, because we always could use that. I think what I'm also going to do is I'm going to put together a list of comedy links and links to movies that are good for Christmas too, because we all could use a little laughter. Okay, you guys, I'm going to go. I'm sitting here kind of on pins and needles because my husband's playing fantasy sports to the bitter end, and he keeps threatening to call me to change his lineup. And I keep telling him, if you call me in the middle of church, if you skip the sermon to call me, that is pretty much the ultimate in disrespect to the pastor. Not that he ever listens. So that's another thing we're going to be having more and more conversations about here, is me letting go of my expectations and him maybe not being quite so white male, cisgendered, entitled. Love you guys.